Today's topic is whether or not you're a company that makes one-hit wonders when it comes to innovation, or whether you're a consistent hit maker. What do I mean by that? The question is, with innovation is, can you really sustain the success, the initial success that you get with some cool projects that you launch? I remember when I first started working in this field, I used to tell companies just sort of like this random statement about how they needed to be more innovative, but it wasn't really clear enough. And so whenever I said that, I'd get pushback from leaders, and leaders always say to me, well, we have several examples of innovations that we've launched. They'll be like, hey, John, tell them about that app that we did, or, Susan, tell Tendai about that project that we launched a few years ago that was successful. And that was a bit confusing because that's not what I was asking. I wasn't telling them that they'd never had a successful innovation before. I was really asking the question about whether or not they're able to innovate over and over and over again. So I think one perspective you can take on this is to look at musicians that are consistent hit makers versus musicians that are one-hit wonders. I think when you look online, there's like a VHS list of like the top 100 one-hit wonders of all time. It's a very interesting list to actually look at. Psychologist Justin Berg did some research where he evaluated what it takes to be a one-hit wonder versus a consistent hit maker. He looked at over 60,000 artists and over 3 million songs that they kind of produced over a long period of time. And what he found was that artists that had a lot of diversity and creativity in their portfolios before they had their initial success were far more likely to be able to maintain that consistency and keep producing hits afterwards. This is in contrast to artists that had an initial hit very early, but their portfolio before that was not that diverse. What's also interesting about this dilemma that Justin Berg kind of identified is that the best way to get an initial hit is to not be diverse and creative, but to make songs that are quite similar to what's popular already in that period. And so there's this dilemma that an artist faces, right? Do you try and have an initial success quickly by launching music or releasing music that's very consistent with what people like at that time? Or do you build a diverse portfolio of creative music and then get your initial hit later? But what happens is, if you get your initial hit very early doing something that's not as creative, those kinds of artists are the ones that are much more likely to become one-hit wonders. Whereas artists with diverse portfolios are far more likely to be the kinds of artists that then become consistent hit makers. They're much more likely to get more and more songs that become successful over time. So this is a very interesting dilemma, because even inside large organizations or inside any established company, the best way to get a hit or to become successful is to develop innovations that are similar to stuff that you've made before. That's a simple choice to make. Efficiency innovations, very similar to what you've made before. You can launch that and you can make money pretty much in the short term, within 12 to 18 months. But if that's all you do, then it's very difficult for you to sustain that success over time. The best way to sustain success over time is to create a diverse portfolio that's got efficiency innovations, sustaining innovations, and transformative innovations. Make multiple bets and see what's actually going to be successful with your transformative innovations. But the tough thing about transformative innovations is that they take time, right, to start creating value. And so the discipline then is to just make multiple bets and just be consistent, because the more diverse your portfolio, the much more likely you are to sustain success over time. You're not going to get an early hit when you invest in transformative innovation. You are, though, much more likely to sustain that success over time. And so the question I should have been asking leaders is not whether or not they have more innovation or whether they should have more innovation in their companies. I should have been asking them, in your organization, when it comes to innovation, do you make one-hit wonders, or are you consistent hit makers?